Good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all. This is Candy, and we are here for Coffee Chats with Coach Candy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited to see you all this morning. Grab your coffee, your tea, your water, your juice, whatever it might be that gets you up and going on this Tuesday morning. We are going to actually continue on with conversation from yesterday. Good morning, Deb. How are you? We are going to continue to talk about how to qualify and dequalify people and opportunities showing up. Today I'm going to give you some strategies on how to evaluate or prioritize or choose where to put your focus and your energy and your time, because it is important, as I've said before, and as y'all know, your time and attention are the only thing that you can never get back. And so when you think about your most precious commodity, we have to be more mindful about how we're protecting that space, what we're doing to honor that, and getting more comfortable saying yes and no in those spaces. For those of you that were on the Yes Monthly last night, we got into some money mindset, money mastery, really peeled back the layer on some things there from a mindset perspective as well. So this is going to play along with that really well. And for the rest of you, this is just another piece or layer inside of the noise that we're trying to destroy. So this is the the inefficiencies that we're creating every day in our daily activities, and some strategies to go through that. Good morning, June. Last night was interesting. How so, Deb? What's anything going on, or how are things going overall? Anything I can help with? Yeah, so for those of you that are joining us for the first time, the noise is about the negative self-talk, filters and frames we create. We've done some discussions around that. The O is the opinions of others we choose to internalize. The I is the space around inefficiencies that we're creating in our daily activities. And the inefficiencies come from two places. One, the inability to say no to the things that aren't meant for you, and the inability to properly qualify and dequalify people and opportunities showing up. We sometimes allow the wrong things in our space. And then the S is the shoulding we do all over ourselves. The E is the excuses we create and perpetuate. So we are going to get into a couple strategies this morning around continuing the conversation around qualifying and dequalifying people and opportunities. And so as we talked about yesterday, we often get taught from a sales perspective how to qualify, right? We get taught what are the filters we need, how do we know what's our ideal client, our ideal prospect, our ideal space, but sometimes we don't give enough focus on how do we filter out what's not. And sometimes I started journaling, working on my stories. Oh, excellent. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that shows up and things that start to move when you get in that space. And it's interesting. I actually have gone back to doing some of that myself recently. And there's a lot of stories that show up, and and you'll see that a lot of things are connected as you start getting into that. So as you do that, Deborah, let me know if you're getting stuck on anything. We can always talk about that a little bit offline, but I'm really glad that you're digging into that. I know that there's a lot to kind of peel back, and it's like an onion at times, right? And sometimes we think, oh, I've dealt with that already, and then what happens as we start to dig into it even deeper is we find more stuff kind of in the underbelly. And so it's an ongoing process. It's a journey for us to do this work, and I think sometimes we forget that. We think it's a one and done, or we think it's a space where once we do it, we're good. We don't have to come back to it. And we're ever evolving, which means there's ever layers of things that we've got from a programming perspective or belief perspective, or some of the noise that we're carrying around, which is why even for some of you that join every morning, some of what I say is repetitive, because we need to keep getting into it from different angles in a different space. And even this morning, for those of you that have heard me talk about focus management, you're going to hear some of these strategies again, and they're worth repeating. And so as we keep evolving, as we keep doing that work, I want you to think about the fact that we need the filters to know exactly how to kind of push those things out that aren't for us from the beginning, and then have a filter to say, are these really qualified to be in the space to be with us? And so oftentimes, like when I'm doing things where it's a pre-qualification process for clients, or it's my masterminds or things around those aspects, I actually try to filter out the people that I'm dequalifying first, because it's really easy to say, these are all my no's, so that I can really open up a space to say yes. And so that's one thing I'd like you to consider is, how do you say no first? And we've talked about that before, right? Sometimes creating that space that says, I'm gonna give it 24 hours. I'm gonna give it a space where I'm gonna say no first, and then allow myself to say, can I fully commit? Is this right for me? Is it aligned to my priorities? Is it in integrity with who I am? And then say yes when I can fully show up in that space. So that's one strategy that I want you to think about as you're looking at things that show up. And sometimes it's people, you know, to engage with, or people to put into your inner circle, or it's opportunities or those like shiny squirrel moments that show up. And there's ways to say, okay, is this for me? Or is it not for me, right? And so the first thing I want you to say is what's not for me? Get rid of everything that's not for you so you can clear the deck. And so some ways that you can do that, there's really two ways that I look at how to evaluate whether or not something's a go or no go, right? And so one of them is I'll ask myself a series of questions. First and foremost, was this something that was planned for me? Is this something that I expected? Is this, especially when it comes to from an opportunity perspective, right? I'll say, was this planned for me? Is this something that really aligns with one of my key priorities? And if I'm taking the time to prioritize, I don't have more than 3 things that I'm really focused on at any given time. So is this in the same space as any of those? And is this going to help move them forward? That's the first question I always ask when a new opportunity or something shows up, that if I say no, then it goes on a parking lot if it's something that's still of interest to me, or I just dismiss it. I'm like, it's not for me. It's not for me right now because it's not in alignment. It's not where I'm at with my focus and what I'm trying to move forward. The second question I'll ask is it mine? Because oftentimes things show up that aren't even yours. They're an opportunity for you to delegate. They're an opportunity for you to hand it off to someone else. They're an opportunity for you to tap someone on the shoulder and say, wow, this feels more aligned to your gifts than mine. And sometimes we think just because it showed up, we have to be the ones to tackle it. And that's not the case, right? So if you've asked yourself the question, was it planned? And you say no, and you're like, okay, does it fit? Is it aligned with any of these priorities? Because things show up as you need them sometimes. And you say no, then it's already cleared off the deck, right? But if you've said yes to any of those, you get into the space to say, okay, do I own it? Is this mine? Then you think about, all right, does this need to happen now? So it might be something that was planned. It might be or not. Good morning, Robin. It might be something that was planned. It might be something that wasn't. But if you've like, okay, it does align with these priorities, I have assessed that it is mine, then it's an opportunity to say, okay, well, is it a needed now, right? Because sometimes we impose this urgency that really is putting far more stress and anxiety on us because we're like, oh my God, I got to do it now. It showed up, I got to do it now. No, it's showing up because it connects somewhere in the path. And so stepping back and saying, okay, if the answer is yes, this is something that ultimately was planned, or yes, this is something that aligns and is in integrity with the priorities that I've set for what I'm trying to move forward. Does it really fit right now? Or is it somewhere along the path that I just need to plan for it and make sure that I'm putting that on the deck as well? And so again, those first 3 questions are, or 4 questions even are, was this planned? Is this aligned with any of the priorities that I have right now and what I'm trying to move forward? Is this mine? And then the next question is really, is it something that is needed now? And if the question, so you've really got to get in the space to be honest with yourself, right? And so this is the way that you can clear the deck right away. You can get rid of things, that are not for you. Good morning, Mateo. You can get rid of things that are not for you when you have some of those pragmatic filters that said, look, my focus is to get everything off my plate that's not for me first. And so like I said, if you take the stance of I'm trying to get rid of all the things that aren't supposed to be on my plate, or all the people that aren't supposed to be in my inner domain, I want to filter out and dequalify before I actually spend the energy to qualify. And I know that that sounds almost inside out from things that you're taught, especially if you've got a lot of sales training. They teach you how to, qualify, how to go after. And I want you to dequalify first. I want you to clear the deck of anything that is not meaningful, powerful, important, going to help you raise to your next level, isn't qualified to help you play at your highest and best, level, where you're at in your A game. If it's not lifting you, that's another question. Is this going to help me grow? Is this going to help me or my team, right? Is this a person that's going to lift me up? Is this someone that's going to help me grow? Is this an opportunity? And so again, another filter that you can put out there to say, all right, I see this showing up, but I'm getting a sense that, some of this energy doesn't feel like it's necessarily aligned with what I want to do. You get in a space where you kind of prioritize and you say, all right, was it planned? Is it aligned? Is it mine? Does it need to happen now? And then you start to say, will this help me grow, right? Will this take me to the next level? Is this going to help challenge me, lift me, grow me? And think about that even in terms of sometimes the people that we surround ourselves with, right? Sometimes we do things out of comfort versus out of, I want to start to elevate my game. And even last night in the Yes Monthly, I was telling the training group that your income, for example, is reflective of your income's somewhere in a 20% swing of the people you surround yourself with. So if you're going, I want to bring more money in, but you keep bringing people in that are either at your level or lower, oftentimes you won't be able to escalate your own game because your mindset starts to match the people that you're around. So if you're feeling like, man, I'm not accessing more in my life, or I feel stuck, there's an opportunity. It's not that you got to clear everybody out. It may be that you just need boundaries. And we've talked about that multiple times, about bringing boundaries in and creating space where, okay, I love these people, I want to spend time with them, but it may not be who I surround myself with in mass capacities. Because if I'm trying to elevate, I need to surround myself with people that share that mindset, share that drive, that I have a space where I can be challenged, I can grow, I can learn, I can be stretched, and I can be lifted up. And so when you think about that, these are kind of the qualifiers that are opportunities for you to ask. The other side of the equation, especially when it comes to the opportunity standpoint, is getting into more of the return on investment type of conversation in your mind, which says, what's the present value right now? In the next, 0 to 6 months or 0 to 12 months, what am I going to gain as a result of playing in this space? Is there a win-win-win? Is there something that's going to be significantly impactful for me and for those involved if this is a space that I choose to play in? Then you look at, so you might do that on a scale of 1 to 10, right? And you're the only one that can qualify that. You need to define what that means for you. But you can get into a space then to say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the future value look like? And maybe that's 12 to 36 months out, right? I don't usually go more than 3 years out when I'm looking at my future value, just because the way things change so much. I want to know that I'm going to be able to turn something in the 3-year time frame. Otherwise, it's not worth my time. The way, especially in business and technology, that is a really long window, actually. A lot of times I don't do more than 18 or 24 months. But that's my qualifiers. You might have something else, right? Then it might be, what's the opportunity cost? On a scale of 1 to 10, how big are the opportunity costs in comparison to the return? Because what happens then is, for everything that we put energy into, there's both a return or a reward and an opportunity cost. And you need to figure out, is that an equation that yields you more than what you have to put in, right? So that hence being return on investment. The other thing is, what's it going to do to your lifestyle? And so you ask yourself, okay, if I invest in this, or if I put my time and energy in this, is it going to significantly change my lifestyle? Am I going to be working longer hours? Am I going to be traveling more? There's things I say no to that are amazing opportunities, but because I made a promise that I don't want to be on the road all the time. I have, and Peyton's made it very clear, I tell people I've built my business around my dog. You can hear squeaking in the background. That's important to me. That's one of my metrics, is how much is this going to take me away from Peyton? How much am I going to be on the road if I say yes to this? And there's been things that I've declined because at this juncture in my life, it's not aligned with how I want to live my lifestyle. And you need to be really clear about that, right? That's a really big question that people miss. They will take an opportunity and then sacrifice the quality of their lifestyle that is most meaningful for them, and take themselves away from their family, take themselves away from the ability to connect, just for the sake of bringing in more money, or the sake of there's this juicy, shiny opportunity sitting out there. And so these are the questions that you have to ask yourself to filter out the things that aren't for you, and then really sit and really qualify the things that are. And then the last piece you might ask is, with the opportunity cost, what's the risk associated associated with this? Am I able to tolerate the risk? And then the last piece is, what is my gut telling me? And this is the space that we miss so often, that we have an internal gauge, we have an internal compass that says, okay, this doesn't feel right now. All of this seems like it's great, and on paper it looks awesome, yet there's still something internally that makes me say, I just don't feel like this is the right space. And what happens is oftentimes we justify, we rationalize, we try to convince ourselves, when our intuition, our internal guide is really screaming at us to say no. And because either we're afraid of saying no, which I really want you, and one of my favorite books is The Big Leap. I know I've mentioned it a couple times. He talks about having an enlightened no. That when you are in such a space to know who you are, and you've been awakened in your own wholeness and spending time in your zone of genius, you then are able to have an enlightened no, because you so trust who you are and trust what you need in that space, that when something shows up that says, I don't think so, you simply say, you know what, no thank you. And you say it from a place of honor and courage and ownership and responsibility. And it's a really powerful thing. And that, above anything else, any of the other qualifiers that are out there, that alone is the gauge that people are missing when it comes to really qualifying and dequalifying these opportunities and people showing up. You're not trusting your inner intuition. You're not trusting that inner voice, your gut. And so it's an opportunity to really lean into that, right? And there's times that I'll muscle test. And so it's interesting, if you ever want to have practice on, you know, your intuition, I think I've shared this a couple times, but it's worth, again, sharing, is the fact that you can muscle test yourself. And so one of the things you can do is close your eyes and stand up. And you can stand up and you can close your eyes and you can ask yourself, okay, show me my yes. Your body will naturally move forward or back depending on where your yes is centered in your body. For me, my yes makes me move forward. So when I stand up and close my eyes and I'm like, show me my yes, my body just naturally leans in and moves forward. For some people, it's backwards. When I say show me my no, I actually fall backwards. So you can close your eyes, and now you've got to clear you've got to get in place, get really present, make sure your feet are grounded. But if you're in that space and close your eyes and say, okay, show me my yes, show me my no, then ask yourself a question or put something out there and notice if your body sways forward or back. You can muscle test whether or not you're aligned with that. It's a really powerful thing. The other thing you can do is you can do it with your hands or your fingers. And sometimes this takes practice. You can do it with another person too. And what's great is when they do it, if they're thinking the questions, you don't know, so you can't resist in any way. But like, for example, I could sit here and say, my name is Candy Barone, and I can't, because I know this is my truth, as long as I'm holding that thought that I am Candy Barone, I cannot make my hands come apart. If you were to feel my shoulders and arms, you would feel like I was lifting at the gym. If I were to say my name is Robin Banks, I can't hold my fingers to save my life. I can't say my name is Peyton. My name is Peyton Wrigley. I can't say that. And as much as I want to hold on to that, my body says that's not true for me. And so you can oftentimes get into a space to muscle test whether or not something is really congruent and in integrity with you, or if you're feeling like, I'm feeling like this isn't the right fit. I'm feeling like this isn't the right opportunity. I'm feeling like this person is not going to open me up, not going to help. You know, this isn't going to be a win-win kind of situation. So I want you to think about those filters. I want you to think about the ways that you can dequalify first, clear the deck, get the noise out of the way, get the things that don't serve. Ask yourself, love muscle testing. Just recently read the book, The Emotional Code, such a powerful read. Oh, I haven't read that one yet. I'm gonna have to check that out. Thank you, Robin. Yes, muscle testing is powerful. If you ever want to gauge on whether or not something is for you or not, check in with your body. Your intuition, your inner knowing, your inner voice is so on point. The problem is we don't listen to it. We're too busy waiting for external validation, external things that are coming to us, things that like are gonna help show us the right path, when if we just quiet down and ask. And muscle testing is a really great way to do that. Meditation is a great way to do that. Journaling is a great way to do that. And when you get in those filters to say, was this planned? Is this aligned? Is this mine? is this something that has to happen now? Is this something, good morning, Melinda, is this something that has to be on my radar? Is this something that's gonna help me grow and expand? Even if on paper all those add up and something internally says, no, you need to start to trust and listen to that inner voice. And so muscle testing is a great way to do that. If you haven't really been able to dial in, practice that. Practice getting in the space to tell yourself truths and lies and see what happens, and test where your body's at. The other thing I do a lot of times, and for some of you this might be a little woo-woo, but I use a pendulum. And I'll even show you, I'm barely holding this, but if I were to say, okay, show me my yes. Can you see how it's moving? I'm not moving my hand at all. By the way, this is a grounding point, so watch it, stop. All I have to do is ground. We've talked about this grounding point right here, middle finger to thumb. And now I'll say, show me my no. You see how it's just going back and forth? It's amazing energy. Your personal energy, your intuition knows that. And there's times I will muscle test, and I was at pendulum sometime to see where my truth is for me. And so there are tools, there are ways to do that, but basically it comes back to trusting yourself. Being really comfortable saying no first. The enlightened no, right? That space that says no, thank you, no, period, no complete sentence, so that you can open up access and clear the deck and invite the things in that are really a yes for you. The only way you can effectively say yes to yourself is by learning how to first say no to the things that are not for you. And that means dequalifying people and opportunity first that are just not the right fit. It's not that you have to think anything bad about them. It's not that you can't love them, but it's not where you're going to put your focus, attention, and time. And it's not something you're going to love on and put your heart and soul into. And so we only have so many hours in a day. We only have so much capacity. And when you're jamming your calendar and jamming your space and jamming things up and focusing on the wrong things, you can't share your best magnificence and your gifts and your talents and what you were, your dharma, in terms of what you were given to put out into the world. We get so polluted with all these other things that show up, whether it's the, I think I have to do this, oh, that's a great opportunity, I have to say yes, I can't possibly say no. And what we need to do is we need to slow it down, and we need to ask ourselves those questions, and then we need to really go inside and see whether or not that's for us or not. So thoughts or questions about that before we close out for today? I just wanted to give you some tools and strategies to help you as we continue the conversation around how to destroy the noise, how to really focus on those inefficiencies that are jamming up your calendar, that are creating all kinds of chaos and pollution in your day-to-day activities. And if you want to reclaim your personal power, if you want to be in a place to be more impactful and influential, then it requires you really getting clear on how to say no and where to say no, and saying no more often. And I know for some of you that's really uncomfortable, but it's amazing the power of when you say no to everything that's not aligned with you standing in your dharma, you standing in your purpose, you being able to play at your highest and best level. And so if you truly want to say yes to yourself, it starts by honestly learning how to say no first. So with that, everybody, hope you have a great Tuesday morning. Hope you go out and practice the no's a little bit more. This was lethal, very awesome and powerful. Thank you, Mateo. Namaste to all of you as well. And so hopefully that's a little bit of a filter that you can use to help you show up and ask those questions, and then ultimately dial in and ask yourself how you're feeling about it. And so with that, everybody, have a great day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.